So we've got Steven Stamp to break down the draft for us here in the NLL coming up. Steven, you have your top 50 players out up on InsideLacrosse.com. I want to focus on your top three at the moment. You got Jonathan Donville, Ryan Lanchbury, Adam Charlambides, all guys that college lacrosse fans will know those names coming from Cornell, Richmond, and Rutgers. Those top three, is there a lot of separation between them? Like, how do you kind of break down those spots?
They're all so talented, so athletic. I don't see a lot of separation between Donville and Lanchbury. Honestly, I lean towards Lanchbury slightly ahead of Donville, but every single person I've spoken to around the league, around the game, when I ask them, who's your top guy, they say Donville. And I say, what about Lanchbury? And they say, oh yeah, he's really good too. He's almost as good. And I don't know. I've been a Lanchbury fan for a long time. I think they're very similar games. They're both great creators. Both can shoot and score. Both make things happen for their teammates. Both really driven. Both super smart, and both right-handers. Right. I think there's a lot of similarities. And if you're picking first or second, and I don't see how you can lose with either of those guys. Charlambides is a little different just because he is 25.
Yeah.
Coming out, off the two knee injuries, but he's such a terrific character guy, terrific athlete. He's actually on Lax Beat, my podcast this week, and we had a great talk earlier about how he's overcome the knee injuries that were, can be potentially devastating to an athlete to have them back to back. And he feels like he's in the best shape and the most athletic that he's ever been. And he's doing some very cool things to get ready to be more athletic. So he's a tremendous player, a lefty, which is always in demand in the NLL. So I think, you'd love it if you could get him at 22 and get those few years, but getting Adam Charlambides at 25 is still pretty special because I think he's going to be a very good player for a long time.
I think anytime you talk about the top of the draft, especially in the NLL, those are guys that you hope, if you're picking there, you think can come in and contribute for you right away. But this year, similar to last year, is a unique year because especially you've got a whole class of rookies that didn't play this year. So teams already have guys that are not quite proven commodities, but they expect to come in and play right away. How does that affect how maybe teams picking in the top five may go after this draft in terms of who you've been talking to?
Well, it has an impact. Obviously, there are some teams that feel like they're close and maybe just need someone to come in to push them over the top. You're going to want somebody who can come right away. Then it becomes difficult. Do you take someone ahead of a Donville or Lanchbury who might be available right away and risk over the next 12 to 15 years not having that player who could be your franchise cornerstone? And it's very difficult. A lot of talk about who wants players that can come right away. My mock draft is out. And as you see, Adam Charlambides is at the top because I get the sense that Panther City wants someone who can come and suit up and help them right out of the gate, which, you can debate the merits of that. Some people would say, hey, as an expansion team, wait for the year, get another high pick, and bring in a lot of talent next year. But it's tough to not want someone good right away in your lineup. I don't know how it's going to affect the other teams. Georgia, I think, is a great example at 2, where Randy Stott's out with the knee, and they could really use a righty to step into that role. But you're at 2, either Lanchbury or Donville's there. Do you pass them up? Do you go for a Hoca Nanticoke, who we don't even know yet for sure if he's in it as we're talking? Do you look down for? There are some other good righties, but I think not a lot of really high caliber righties that would make you think I'm going to take this guy instead of a Donville or Lanchbury. So I feel like the tipping point may come a little earlier this year. Like last year, we saw that a lot, right? Where teams would be like, yeah, this guy's good, but this guy's almost as good or very similar, and he can come now. So let's get him, which of course turned out to be irrelevant.
Right. Well, that's the thing. Like the Riptide obviously they weren't going to not take Jeff Teat, but they take Jeff Teat, and it ended up, it worked out, unfortunately for the league, but it worked out for them.
Yes. Yeah, it was unfortunate, of course, for them and all of us, or for the league and all of us. But yeah, you have Jeff Teat coming in as a rookie, and I think folks who weren't that familiar with him in the box, but who have seen him in the PLL, can understand why there was so much hype and so much excitement about Jeff Teague. And there's only going to be more in New York.
Yeah, a special, special talent. You mentioned Hoca, and we were talking about him going moving forward. Like he's eligible, he's there. What type of team takes a look at him? What are you hearing about the interest?
I think it's mixed. There are some red flags. That's the term that comes up just because of the situation in Albany where he was dismissed. And my sense is, I mean, it's professional lacrosse. You don't have to be in school. It's a little different. I think teams are going to want to talk to him. That's the big thing, is talk to him and find out, because I don't think he's a bad dude. I think he's a pretty good kid. He's a very talented player. And if he's available immediately, especially, that elevates his status a little bit for this year. So I think the big thing is talking to him, being comfortable that, everything's going to be cool coming forward, and that you can manage the locker room off floor side of things. Because I don't know how much you know. I don't think anybody knows all the details of what happened, and it's not. I don't think there was anything horrendous. I think it just wasn't a fit. It wasn't working. So somebody's going to take him, and he could be a steal if he does fall because of some of the question marks.
Strictly talent-wise, from what you've seen with him in the box game, because a lot of us who see him in the field game, you see how big and physical he is, and we've seen him, what he's done. Strictly talent-wise, box-wise, where does he fit?
He would be a top 5 guy. I mean, he's not, I don't think, you just look at the numbers, the production, the all-around game. I don't think he has developed to the point where Donville and Lanchbury have. I think Charlin Beatties brings a little bit more completely. You look at some of the transition guys like Jake Boudreau, Mike McCannell. There's where you may vault him ahead because of what he can do. Because scoring is always at a premium. If you can put the ball in the net, and he is a very special player when it comes to making things happen, to put the ball in the net. The guy he does some stuff that's unbelievable. I think everyone would like it if it was a bit more regular, a bit more consistent, the production, because the numbers, like I said, aren't the same as some of the top guys. But man, if you need a goal, you can give the ball to Hoca, and it's pretty hard to stop him when he really gets his mindset that he's going to score.
So looking outside, maybe your top 15 or 20, who's the guy that maybe it's because of the MSL season, the limited season going on now, or that maybe because nobody's seen him play, is a little off the radar, but you see as a guy who could be a real steal late?
I mean, there's a handful of guys. I think one guy that, I've been talking to, and I think nobody even knows about him. So he's actually on the podcast this week, so you can hear more about him. But Jake Harrington, have you ever heard of him?
No.
There you go. Played at Stevenson, a D3 school, very good school.
Yeah, great program.
Right? Midi, terrific athlete. You see the highlight videos, and he reached out to me a couple of years ago to try and find out about coming to Canada. He's tried the last 2 summers to come to Canada because he loves the box game, just wants to play. And he is working to make it happen. It couldn't happen for him to come up. He's now going to Vermont for a graduate program, so he's not available immediately, but he will be down the road, and he's going to spend the next couple of summers playing box lacrosse. He is determined to get to Canada or a senior B league with the team in the States, whatever, but get to play at the highest level. He's been playing NCBS, he's been playing IBLA. He scores a ton of goals, very athletic. I think ultimately his future is probably as a transition player. He feels he's a forward, fair enough. But that's a guy who's going to go later in the draft, definitely not in the first couple of rounds. But somebody's going to take him, and he may not amount to anything in the box game, but there's a lot of raw material and a lot of passion. And I'd be taking a flyer on him at some point.
And that is why we bring you on, for tidbits like that. Stephen, we appreciate the time. Check out the podcast. Check out his top 50 list as well. We always appreciate the insight, and enjoy the draft coming up this weekend.
Thank you. It's always great coming on and talking lacrosse. And it's good to see you again.